If peace can be defined by a lack of conflict, then perhaps the Isunia of old was peaceful. There was the usual bickering between the 5 guilds. For most of the citizens, though, the land of shimmering dew and guilds was good to them. What more could they ask for? I was no different. There was once someone precious to me. Every day I could spend by her side was dear to my heart. But our contentment is a fragile house of cards, and when the flames of war engulfed the land, it went up in smoke all too easily. Maisha LaForge. She wrought disaster, the likes of which Isunia had never experienced. After the dust settled, tales rose of how a hero, wielding a sword of justice, pierced the darkness and ushered in a new era. The relationships between the people and the guilds are shifting. Everyone is working together to move forward. And yet, it feels like I'm trapped in time. I can still feel the flesh of the would-be hero giving way beneath my blade. Yes, these hands may have saved the world, but... There's no end to them.
Don't get me wrong, I love a good party, but these guests have overstayed their welcome. What do you say, Marshal?
I'm ready to show them the door. Give me some good news.
3rd Squad in the eastern sector has dispatched 57 life forms. The 4th in the west is at 49, and here in the city center, the 1st's taking care of 83. In other words, this party's raging out of control. We've also got our hands full evacuating the citizens. Even with all hands on deck, we're spread pretty thin.
And yet, you're still holding the line. What would this hapless new marshal do without your support?
It's the other way around, Cetus. You're the only one who could have brought us together after what went down. Everyone knows that.
Looks like we're done here. Let's keep moving.
You got it. Lead the way, Marshal. The guild assembly is today, isn't it? These magical life forms sure picked a great time to show up. We're right down to the wire thanks to these blighters. The streets are clogged, and the gondolas are out of service. Though if push comes to shove, I guess you can just chop your way through and still be on time for the meeting, huh?
But I'd be a lousy excuse for a marshal if I left you to clean everything up by yourself. There's still more than enough time to set things to rights here.
We could even round some of these up and bring them as a souvenir to the meeting. Who doesn't like jelly? The guild assembly wasn't functional for years until recently. Back in the early days, the guilds would meet to go over issues and plot out Isunia's future together. Today's agenda is about tidying up, isn't it? Sounds about right, considering we're in the middle of Reconstruction. Man, if we had a leaderboard, the Order of Blade Rights would be smashing it. Actually, I take that back. When it comes to sheer firepower and destructive force, there's someone who can outdo all the guilds put together.
True. He could probably sweep through these life forms in his sleep. Just remember, we serve the people best by working together. That's where our strength lies. In the end, it's the number of people we help that counts.
You know what? You're right. The bigger the mess we clean up, the more brilliantly Esunia will shine.
This would go so much faster if we could somehow gather the life forms in one place and sweep them all up at once. That way, we wouldn't have to run the length and breadth of Esunia chasing after dust bunnies.
Dust bunnies with teeth, you mean? If we let a single one roam free, they'll do more than just bite ankles. There's gotta be a better way to do this. It's too bad you can't just use those swords, huh? One swing would send these life forms packing in 2 blinks.
They could also raise Esunia in 2 blinks. Unsheathing them would destroy far more than they would save. Let sleeping swords lie. They're powerful enough, even as symbols.
And that's why they're under lock and key at HQ, I know. Sorry, I shouldn't have even brought it up.
The way I see it, the light of the Blade Rights will not be dimmed for the lack of a couple of swords. Isn't that right, Captain?
Well, when you put it that way. Still, even if the guilds no longer need to use threats and coercion to get things done, there are times when carrying a big stick comes in handy. I don't want to throw around names or anything, but it's pretty clear who's behind this jelly swarm.
You don't have to. I'd be surprised if they weren't involved in some way. The only people capable of creating them are the mages of the Magus Covenant. And with the life forms springing up everywhere, the townspeople are getting restless.
I would be too if I woke up swimming in a sea of jelly. What's worse, we haven't heard a peep out of them since the infestation began. I mean, I get that lab accidents happen, but leaving us to clean up their mess? Makes me wonder if this isn't one of their perverted experiments and they're gleefully watching the results.
Given their history, I understand your suspicion. But I doubt Magus would pull a stunt like this, especially when Eleanor is supposed to be meeting with the other guild leaders. No, the Magus Covenant has changed, just as we have. They're not just focused on research and results anymore.
But what if they are? Who else can produce life forms? We both know Eleanor Gloria loves a good show. We also know how much of a sore loser she can be. This might be one of her experiments. Or she might be trying to divert our attention from something else she's mucked up.
Even if that were the case, I don't think she'd go this far.
I'm just saying it can't hurt to nip things in the bud before someone gets hurt. That's all. I know they changed after the war. And it's true that without Magus, the Order of Blade Rights wouldn't be where it is now. But this is an entirely different issue. They may be trying to turn over a new leaf, but you can't take the researcher out of the mage. They can exercise restraint as a bare minimum, though.
Understood. I'll take your concerns to the Assembly.
I'd appreciate it. I know that negotiating with Eleanor is no walk in the park. All I'm asking is that you try.
I'll see what I can do.
Marshall?
Apologies. Something's come up. Can you handle things here on your own?
Uh-huh. I get it. Guess I'll make myself scarce. Leave the rest of the cleanup to me, sir.
Thanks. You called?
Cetus Law.
I doubt this is a social call. What have you got?
A foreign presence has invaded your keep. Hurry, unless you'd prefer to deploy other methods.
Very well. You have my thanks. I'm glad I can count on you and the other officers of the Moon Corps as allies.
We've no need to bear the names of a shattered past. None of us desire to go back to the old ways. We are Leod Black's disciples and comrades, his will given form. We also have a place high in the sky, counter to the sun's light. That is what makes us Counter Solari.
Now that I understand the truth of our shared history, it pains me that I can't do more to repay our debts. Go in peace, moon-blessed night. May its light guide you. This is the least I can do to help shoulder the burden. I was too late. It hasn't been that long since I got the message. Our intruder certainly knew what they were doing.
Marshal!
Have you finished cleaning up?
Yeah, for the most part. We also had a helping hand from Escamali and their new praetor. He doesn't mess around. I'm more worried about this mess, to be honest. Looks like the burglar had a specific mark in mind. And they found what they came for.
The sword of truth and the sword of lies. They're both gone.
I talked with some members of the 2nd Patrolling HQ. Their captain's missing. And the only trace of him is that pool of blood by the door. Not to sound paranoid, but isn't it weird that the burglar chose this exact time to carry out their heist? We're stretched so thin that the officers hadn't had time to rest. The city is crawling with magical life forms, and now someone breaks through our security and steals those swords?
The assembly is about to meet. If you're finished with cleanup, I'd like you to hold down the fort.
Sir?
Keep what's happened here quiet. I don't want anyone outside of you and the 2nd Squad finding out just yet. It's better not to frighten anyone until we know more. We've only just re-established trust, and the last thing we need is people panicking about the possibility of another war. Your response, Captain.
Understood, sir. Leave everything to me. I'm sure you've got a plan, and you're always thinking of the most just course of action. I know I can trust you on that front. It's just... I'm a little frustrated. Why is all this... Apologies, sir. Allow me to get this off my chest. We'll follow your orders. But don't forget there's no need to bear every burden alone. We know balancing this stuff doesn't come easily to you. And we want to help. I'm saying this not as your subordinate, but as the friend who entered the Blade Rights together with you.
Thanks. I won't forget your words. I'll also never forget that there are no shortage of burdens that I bear. And they are what keep me standing here.